incandescent bulbs for use around the house.
Das Licht, was wir haben möchten, das bringen
They just don't produce the kind of light we want. We can't use dimmers. And we've been reading about the dangers as well. They're supposed to be environmentally friendly, and yet they contain mercury. Sorry, we just can't grasp that concept.
Da haben wir kein Verständnis.
The European Union enacted the legislation on energy-efficient bulbs back in 2009. Early on, European Parliament member Holger Kramer voiced skepticism and pointed out the possible adverse effects for consumers.
It's
clear that health concerns were simply not a factor in implementing the ban on incandescent bulbs and the pressure to market energy-efficient bulbs. The EU Commission admitted as much. At the time, there had been no comprehensive studies. It wasn't just about mercury. There were also concerns about the psychological effects of the light, among other things.
But didn't the EU Commission carry out extensive testing? We asked Commissioner for Energy Günther Oettinger to comment. He refused, sending a spokesperson in his stead. Were studies done on possible adverse effects of CFLs prior to the incandescent bulb ban?
Before we began taking light bulbs off the market, we investigated the problem of mercury in the energy-efficient bulbs. We asked some of the independent scientists on our advisory council, and they indicated there was no risk from the amount of mercury contained in the new energy-saving lights.
One day later, she sent a correction. In an email, she wrote that extensive test results were only submitted in 2010, long after the phase-out went into effect. In a 2009 study, researchers looked at just 5 different CFLs. That was the minimum requirement. So why the urgent decision to ban filament bulbs and replace them with CFLs?
It was at the height of the climate debate. It started in Australia and spread around the globe. Everyone was unscrewing light bulbs and no one wanted to be left behind, including Chancellor Angela Merkel. There was no stopping it. Incandescent bulbs had to be banned to save the world.
The EU Commission appointed a committee to set guidelines for the energy-efficient bulbs. It included industry experts along with representatives of consumer groups. Why were producers such as Philips and Osram at the table?
It's all about who knows whom, the buddy system. The bureaucrats in the EU Commission have circles of friends. They network. And when it comes to a decision on some issue, they invite those who might be affected by it to meet. And it has to be clear that environmental concerns aren't necessarily the highest priority. Rather, these decisions are heavily influenced by the respective business interests. There's no profit in the incandescent bulb, perhaps just a few cents. The profit margin is much higher for CFLs. That's why business interests trumped environmental concerns in coming to this decision.
Proponents point out that the energy-efficient lamps truly do save electricity and have a much longer lifespan. But is that truly the case? In Frankfurt, we visit the offices of popular German consumer magazine Ökotest. It's done extensive research into CFLs. Editor-in-chief Jürgen Stelpflug and his team studied 16 different models to find out whether they live up to manufacturers' claims.
Here they claim that this 11-watt CFL bulb can replace a 60-watt filament bulb. That's simply not enough. Our findings indicate you'd need at least 14 watts. But the CFLs also lose brightness quickly. So actually, you'd need a 21-watt energy-efficient lamp to replace an old 60-watt bulb.
And the lifespan?
Yes, this is the lifespan. According to this, one low-energy bulb lasts longer than 8 traditional bulbs.
The manufacturer is required to print this information on the packaging. It just doesn't add up.
Yes, they're required to, but no officials check to see if it's true.
But this laboratory in Wilhelmshaven does. Electrical engineer Wolfgang Hirte and the staff at the Prüfzentrum Technik have been testing lights for years, commissioned by consumer protection groups. That includes tests on the true lifespan of energy-saving lights. This room contains more than 100 lamps from 36 manufacturers. On average, they should burn between 8 and 10,000 hours.
Ja, hier sehen wir unseren Dauertest.
We're performing a longevity test here.
Ergebnis bisher
We're at 7,000 hours, and 30% of them have burned out.
That's a lot.
Dann haben wir zusätzlich
In addition, we have a row where the lights are regularly turned off and on.
Die werden öfter ein- und ausgeschaltet. Bei dem
It's rigged so that they're on for 1 minute and then off for 5.
Minute brennen, sind dann wieder für 5 Minuten
And the
ausgeschaltet.
test runs around the clock.
So läuft das dann rund
The
um die
first
Uhr.
bulbs expired at the 3,000 hour mark.
Fallen da sogar schon bei 3.000.
And you can tell by these dark spots that a lamp is about to burn out.
Diese schwarzen Stellen, das ist so das Anzeichen, wenn die Lampen bald kaputt gehen. Man
In a
überlegt
bathroom,
sich,
families turn the light on and off at least 10 times a day.
am Tag.
So a CFL probably wouldn't last a year.
So hat man noch nicht mal eine Lebensdauer von einem Jahr für so eine Lampe.
We asked Germany's largest light bulb producer to explain the apparent discrepancy. Osram answered by email. We are Germany's only manufacturer to guarantee our energy-efficient bulbs. This guarantee also applies particularly to the lifespan. In the meantime, we've re-established contact with the Chinese labor activists. They've been able to place one of their members inside an assembly plant at the Foshan Electrical and Lighting Company. This facility produces fluorescent lights which operate on the same principle as CFLs. The key component is mercury. Heinrich Kramer is a lighting designer, previously employed by a major manufacturer. He speaks with authority about the images from the Chinese plant. The employees aren't wearing protective gear.
They should be wearing breathing masks and the appropriate protective clothing, and it should be disposed of once they leave the production line.
If one of these tubes breaks, highly toxic mercury will escape. Chinese regulations stipulate protective clothing, but it appears few employees are aware of the health hazards. Over the past few years, there have been numerous documented cases of toxic accidents, including at this plant. Under these conditions, can we call these lamps environmentally friendly?
Certainly not when you look at it from this standpoint. They do consume less electricity, but no one sees the environmental damage caused by mercury. It's even more outrageous given the widespread knowledge that mercury is highly toxic for the environment. So special EU exemptions were put into effect to make CFLs available to consumers. The guidelines are far stricter for all other instruments. Mercury thermometers are banned, but there are special guidelines for fluorescent tubes and CFLs. So these energy-efficient bulbs will continue to pollute the environment.
In 2004, German light manufacturer Osram bought a stake in the Foshan Electrical and Lighting Company. In a statement, Osram declares, with the goal of improving occupational safety and health, Osram successfully implemented these and other measures in 2010. Use of modern dosing technologies, weekly mercury monitoring, construction of new ventilation and exhaust mechanisms. And then there's the problem of disposing of the burned out bulbs. Germany forbids throwing them away with the rest of the household trash. We go to a building supply center to see whether it has a recycling program in place. It doesn't appear to be the case. Excuse me, I'd like to recycle this bulb.
Sorry, I can't help you. I don't think we accept them.
There was nothing in the light department.
We don't accept them.
But I bought it here.
That doesn't matter.
The only alternative is a trip to the recycling center. On the way, my car burned nearly a liter of gas and emitted over 2,000 grams of CO2, all to dispose of one eco-friendly light bulb. Waste separation actually works quite efficiently in environmentally conscious Germany, but the CFLs pose a gigantic recycling problem. Recycling centers are required to accept them, but experts estimate that only about 10% of CFLs from German households are properly disposed of. That means 90% are thrown out with the trash, ending up in landfills and posing an environmental hazard. But surely the EU Commission has imposed recycling guidelines. Bureaucrats in Brussels have regulated almost every aspect of our lives. But the spokesperson for the EU Energy Commissioner couldn't find the laws applying to recycling of CFLs.
As far as recycling is concerned, stores that sell the bulbs must also take the used ones back.
But they don't.
They have to. The stores have to take them back.
Take CFLs back for recycling. The stores refuse and say they're not required to. You can't dispose of the burned out bulbs at the place you bought them.
The law stipulates that the stores must accept them. The law also says that member nations must inform its citizens where and how to dispose of these bulbs. Of course, that includes Germany and German citizens.
The spokesperson for the EU Energy Commissioner is wrong. Mrs. Holzner corrects her statement the day following our interview. Stores may recycle the bulbs on a voluntary basis. Light designers are developing bulbs that work without mercury. At the Unilever House in Hamburg, LEDs and natural lighting are part of a progressive energy-efficient concept. It's an expensive solution. At a cost of 30 to 40 euros per bulb, LEDs are beyond the price range of many families, but they do last up to 5 times longer than CFLs.
These LEDs are a very effective and energy-efficient way of generating light. The major advantage is that LEDs emit maximum light at the flip of a switch. That's my major complaint with CFLs. You can fall down the stairs because there's no light. LEDs solve that problem. They're a good alternative.
But if LEDs are too expensive and CFLs too dangerous, there's little choice left. This lighting shop in Hamburg recognized a business opportunity, ordering and hoarding thousands of traditional bulbs. Stefan Schrader expects to be doing a booming business.
Look at this bulb, it's beautiful. I have about 1,000 in this style.
And how many bulbs in all?
1 or 2 million at least.
On September 1st, Europe bade farewell to the incandescent bulb. Consumers have stocked up, and demand for CFLs is moderate at best. A potentially toxic product that simply doesn't live up to the hype.